Good.
You're recording.
All right, good evening, everybody. We'll call this meeting to order. This is our Ad hoc Academy Community Center Building Committee meeting. It's our regular agenda. First item is approval of our prior minutes from August 12th, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to chair comments. I'm filling in for Joe Valentine tonight. I don't have anything to report. I don't know, is Joe on? He's not. We'll move on to liaison reports. Al, anything to report?
Good afternoon. Nothing new to report. The selectmen are eagerly looking forward to receiving the information that you gather from going out to bid, and we look forward to deciding whether or not to take that information to referendum. As I understand, you're still on your timeline that that information will be available for the selectmen and the public perhaps sometime in December.
Yes. Still on target.
Nothing else for me.
Okay, thank you, Al. All right, review and approve invoice packets, I believe. Yeah. What's that?
Okay, just making sure, Austin, you have them.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, three really good meetings over the last couple of weeks, about finishes, the cafe, and some meetings with architects and electrical things yesterday. So that was it's really good progress. I think good information sharing too, which is helpful. And yeah, trucking right along. It's good.
Thank you. All right, moving on to invoices. I believe we received one from QA&M. And
Yes, we have reviewed the invoice and to approve it for payment. I'll second that.
okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Right. Let's see, do we have any budget line item transfers?
Not today.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on to Collier's update. John, what do you have for us?
Just a couple things, as Austin just touched on. We've had a couple of meetings over the past week or so. We did have the interior finishes review meeting. That was a 3-hour session.
A little bit longer than that, but that's
A
okay.
little longer than that? Okay.
But it was good. It was productive.
Yes, Joan partook in that, as did Felicia and Austin, and went through all the finishes for the building. And that information, that feedback was given to QAM, and they're in the process of incorporating that into the documents. The theater initial site inspection was performed, and there is a follow-up this week, I believe it is.
Thursday.
Thursday, yes, Thursday, thank you, for that initial review. Joan's going to be part of that discussion.
I
we
think
also-
Joe may be, I talked to Joe Valentine over the weekend, and I think he may be back as well, which is good because he was part of that little subgroup that went
Subgroup.
around to the different theaters, so
Okay.
that works.
It appears he is on, you can't just hear him.
Sorry?
Joe just texted me, he can hear us, but we can't.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Does he want to be, is he the Joseph? I'll promote him.
I believe it might be him. Is that why we can't hear him?
We also have had the advisory committee on community appearance and also the historical meeting. That is something I'll let Tom speak to. QAM met with both ACA and Historical District Commission recently on the project. Some feedback from them, which I'll let him share. We also, assuming had a meeting yesterday with a couple of the town departments, and some follow-up on that. Some documents will be sent to a couple of the building officials, and then Tom and QAM will follow up with them on a subsequent meeting and review of those documents. And finally, Fuss and O'Neill has performed the selective demo inspection process. They ended up having 3 bidders, and I'll speak to that further under the new business item, but that also is something that's in the works. Any questions?
Thank you, John. All right, we'll move on to QA&M updates. Tom?
Yeah, we did have 2 positive informal meetings, one with ACAA. Generally, they like the concept, they like the site development plan. They had some sort of comments about types of pavers and, you know, thicknesses of bands in the walkway. They had some comments about the exterior of the entranceway, the new entranceway. They wanted us to change some of the edge details, and make them thinner. None of that really affects the design in a negative way. They did want us to change the canopy and make the canopy more traditional looking to match the other building. I said we can agree to disagree on that. And we would prefer to have our meeting with HTC before we did anything. And we talked about a number of other things, an overall scope, but generally it was well received. I see no obstacles to making submission. And, you know, ultimately we will go to them formally around October 8th. So if we make the October 3rd meeting, where planning and zoning will receive our application, then they can refer it to ACAA, and then maybe we'll get in front of them by October 8th. HTC informal was last night. I was not there, Brian was there. He said it was a pretty good discussion, relatively minor comments. They had some comments about how the rooftop screening is done. They wanted us to add some signage on the building. It's funny because ACAA wanted us to remove the signage from the building. So there's a conflict of interest there. And HTC is insisting that we do nothing to replicate the historic nature of the building. They want everything to look modern and in keeping with a more more progressive design. And the reason they want that is because they don't want it to look like the existing building. They want the existing building to stand out. So they want the glass wall to stay, they want the canopy to be progressive, but they pointed things out like we're adding benches on the site, and they want those benches to be modern looking, not traditional looking. You know, light poles, they don't want them to be
This is the
traditional.
historic district.
This is a historic district, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
you know, all in, it was a good meeting. There were no deal breakers. So again, we think we'll be able to make their formal submission to them. And I believe that will be at about the same time, October 3rd-ish. So everything will be submitted around the same time. We'll coordinate that with Aaron. We did receive an informal report from Tony Foreman today. We made some comments on it. I did not distribute that. But you will be seeing that tomorrow or the next day. Otherwise, good. We're gonna start working with town departments to make sure that we finalize our approvals and information that we need for the submission. That's all.
Did you get the PDFs sent out to the department heads?
Brian was working on that today. I don't know if it went, but probably did. I do know that we are still working towards a September 6th cost estimator date. All of our consultants are prepped to have as much as possible available for September 6th. I don't know if I have a cost estimator on board yet, though. I believe I informed this committee that my cost estimator passed away. It's unfortunate circumstances, but, so I have to find a new cost estimator, working on that. And that's all I have for an update.
Questions?
So I just want to clarify, you met with P and Z, building officials, fire marshal, health and sanitation, chief drum and future rep. It's a busy time, you guys.
A lot is going on. A lot is actually getting accomplished. We're actually having real conversations. Listen, we sit in this room a lot and we talk about what we're gonna do and
Right.
what you're gonna do, and nothing really happened. Now decisions are being made about, bricks and mortar, and the drawings are getting brought to a level of higher detail. We're talking about things like, do we sprinkler this area? Do we not sprinkler this area? Can we apply for a modification, state building code? So there's a lot of detailing actually happening, which is nice.
Just to clarify, Joan, Chief Drum was out sick yesterday, so he was not present. I think everybody else.
Somebody else.
The sanitarian wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, yes. He was not there.
Okay.
Health department.
Those are group sessions, though, not individual meetings.
Right, but it's still a lot of input from various representatives with various opinions and responsibilities, I should say.
We did find out, though, this committee should be aware that the building official really, I believe, would prefer to have the town hire a third-party reviewer to do the part of the review. This happens a lot in municipalities, especially for bigger projects like schools.
Assuming, Tom, let me interrupt. Felicia did get back to me this afternoon and indicated that may end up being done in-house.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
She sent
well.
me an email late this afternoon.
Oh, okay, good to know.
I just realized you weren't copied on it. I was thinking you were, but, so that may not be something we need a third party that we
Okay, great.
just let you know.
Well, my team is providing a set of documentation to Sam and Vinny for preliminary look-see, and then we'd like to sit down with them. That's not supposed to be a big meeting, that's just supposed to be Brian and the engineers and them, working through technical details and approach to solving some project problems. So there's a few issues we gotta work through.
Is that something you should presence at?
I really don't want you guys there. I'm sorry. Obviously you're free to go there, but
Yeah.
it's a technical decision, and if I need help, getting some influence afterwards, I would probably ask Felicia to help us out with that. No offense, if you want to come and
No, I want our time to be used
what the
where it's valuable.
spacing of a sprinkler head down from a clear area of the ceiling is, I think you'd find it enjoying and joyful, and you might fall asleep at some point in that meeting. I don't even go to those meetings. I don't want to go.
But your sprinklers are very critical. They're 18 inches.
So, good.
All right, Joe, do you have any questions? I think we can hear you now, we can hear us. Or maybe not.
Can we hear Joe?
Hears us.
No, I don't have any questions. I am fully seeing you and hearing you now, so I'm glad you promoted me, Jeannie. Thank you. But no, I have no questions at this time.
Thanks, Joe. All right, move on to public comment. Any comments from the public?
Andy Mellenborough, so Horseman Road.
Yep.
What is the current cost assessment on the removal of all the lead and asbestos on the property?
John, do you
Yeah, there are three quotes for the initial selective demolition.
You're talking about
Is that what you're?
all the construction, right? Not the selective demo. You're talking about.
Oh, that is, we don't have that out to bid yet.
I've seen something online was like 500,000.
There's a line item of, I think, $550,000 that's presently in the.
That puzzled me because back in 2018, it was 850,000. I don't know how things went down, but
I can tell you how it went down. It went down because the majority of that $800,000 was removal of mastic from the foundations if the building were to be torn down. The building's gonna remain, all that mastic will remain subsurface except for a small portion that is at the entryway. So the original estimate was $800,000 and we removed the majority of the mastic removal estimate. And we went down to $500,000. The $500,000 does represent the remainder of the abatement in, let's call it $2018. So a new estimate is going to be prepared by Fuss and O'Neill. That has not been completed yet.
okay. And that, I'm sure that new estimate is painting over the lead paint that's in the building right now and not removing.
We don't have a solution for all of the spaces yet, but I would presume that there are areas where we're gonna do a lot of abatement and there might be some components that we recommend are encapsulated. I can't tell you if that's paint or not paint.
I was in the trade for 40 years. I was also an architect when I was a lot younger and building inspector. And just by my experience is that if you encapsulate the lead paint on the walls or flooring, down the road, if there's any remodeling, okay, everything's gonna get shut down. You agree? Because it's gonna cost so much more later if you wanna change a wall position or open up a room. It's more down the road.
That is correct. So we have to use diligence and make some, cost benefit analysis choices or recommendations to the owner. For instance, in the case of flooring, generally we would recommend removing it all instead of encapsulating it. But in the case of historic plaster, where we don't want to remove all of the plaster and gut the entire building, we might recommend some form of encapsulation. I don't have that exact solution yet today, but, maybe it's, a wainscot on the lower level and then up above where it's generally just painted wall surface and doesn't get disturbed as much. Maybe encapsulation is a good solution. We have some ceilings where we're removing old ceilings and it makes no sense to encapsulate because we're gonna damage and make the ceiling friable. So that all has to come out and we'll put a new ceiling in place. But there's other areas where the ceiling assembly is covered with historic tin ceilings. We want to keep those ceilings. And HTC wants us to keep those ceilings. So every space in this building will have a conversation about what we should save and what we shouldn't save. But it's also got to make, yes, good health safety sense first, but also, it has to make good financial sense.
The front facade, the stucco, the mortar, in between everything is asbestos?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the reports.
Yeah, I believe it is. And that's just a concern. How many changes has been done to the plans since you came on board and completed the first phase?
What would you determine a change in the plans?
Well, I know there's always changes. Everybody comes up with a good decision to change something. Some people come up with harebrained decisions to change something. And as an architect, I always charged extra. They kept changing the plans because your time is money. And what was the cost associated with that? These are questions I'm getting from a lot of citizens in town. So forgive me if I'm trying to get some answers.
Well, generally the concept of the building is the same. it hasn't changed. There have been a number of value engineering adjustments and changes that we've incorporated as we went through the cost estimating phases. So, yes, for instance, I mentioned this evening, Historic District Commission would like us to have a very thin parapet at the new entrance as opposed to a thick parapet. So, we changed the outside of the building. Many small changes like that have occurred. We're gonna have wood flooring, we're gonna preserve the wood flooring here instead of putting new wood flooring over it. That's the majority of the changes.
Well, the thing is, because it was so grossly underestimated at the 15.9 at the referendum back in 2022. I don't know how it could be done for anywhere near that. Are you giving up some things to have other things done in there?
I think to be really.
Because I see, and excuse me, I'm sorry. I seen one of the meetings back a while ago, and the whole topic of that whole meeting was the theater. Okay, are things being pushed aside or basically done not as well as should be because to put the money towards a theater?
At this point, no. To be really frank, we've gotten to the point where we can no longer really make value add decisions, right? We've gone through the scope. We've gotten to a point where it's nice and clean and financially responsible, but we really can't make the cost of the project go significantly lower without either removing something significantly from the scope or without, finding a way to get more dollars. And that's why I think you heard the liaison, Al Goldberg, talk tonight. The town council wants to hear what are the final costs, where are we actually, and then what would that impact be in terms of a referendum. So at
If I
this.
could just add a point here, we are doing a base dollar figure, this is 15.9, this is the base, and then there's add alternates to get to the rest of the building. So we have a base piece that's gonna be presented to the public and say, this is what the 15.9 costs will get us, even though we're only bonding 7.6 less than that. Or if we wanna add and make sure that the entire thing's done at once, then this is the cost, still gonna be under the 15.9 bonding number. Well under the 15.9 bonding number, but these would be these are the additions. And the add alternate, one of the add alternates is theater. One of the add alternates is, some of the basement area, the kitchen is an add alternate. It'll get trimmed out, but the facilities for, for the stove and the hoods and the functioning of it, it would just be stubbed in, ready to go for when we want to try to put that project in. So that we spent a lot of time over the last year figuring out what is the reasonable base, coming to an agreement on the reasonable base, and then saying, okay, if we had everything in the world, this is what we would cost. Well, we're not doing that. Let's call back to something more reasonable. And here are the add alternates for those reasonable items that we feel as a committee.
Yeah, my main concern is painting over, encapsulating all the lead paint inside there. That is my main concern. Second concern are the grounds. The septic system is most likely, I would guarantee 100% that it's full of asbestos and lead.
There's a new septic system
Yeah,
going
it's
in.
entirely being replaced.
Right. So we have cost down on that.
I
Yeah, that's
believe
part of
we've
the-
got estimates, but we
There
don't have
wasn't
hard
one not
costs.
too long ago. And I think that was left out of the original estimate of doing that. I mean, what I can't understand is, like I said, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I can't understand how the town went to get bonding and this and that and loans or whatever you guys did without a concrete plan and leaving out so much of normal construction that had to get done on this building that was so outdated. Okay, and how they came up with $15.9 million. Technically, I'm estimating it had to be about between 28 and 30 million dollars to finish this properly. But that's just my guess. That's a guesstimate,
So-
as we say in the trade.
That was
So
before
one of the
this
things,
committee was
that's
formed.
before the committee was formed, that was whole history. This
I
was-
understand that.
Right, but we're also coming in with what could be done for 15.9, and then the ad alternates.
But I'm thinking I'm thinking it's a bait and switch because you go in there at 15.9, that would pass referendum, when really it's gonna
It's
cost double that.
15.9 in bonding.
Right.
We're
but-
not gonna go over the
So-
15.9
So
in
this,
bonding.
I mean, as you know, this is public comment.
Right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if he has questions, we can
Yeah.
answer. It's not really a back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I, believe me, I love this conversation because people are not in the know of what's going on here. And I would definitely have you guys think twice about encapsulating all the lead, the asbestos, everything else that goes on in that building, because down the road, it's gonna cost this town a lot of money. As people on the board here, the committee knows that we've got a lot of big projects going on right now. And the town's gonna be on the hook for an awful lot of money. And in 3 or 4 years, it's all gonna come due. And a lot of the seniors in town, a lot of the middle-class people in town aren't gonna be able to afford to live here anymore. And that's what I'm concerned about. I don't want any more down the road, okay, we're not gonna do it now, but in 5 years, we're gonna pull money from somewhere else and we're gonna stick it in there to get it done. It's still gonna cost us money as taxpayers. I've been here 26 years and I've never seen this volume of spending in 26 years I've been here all at once. We just got over the COVID scare, a little bit of a depression. And to spend this kind of money all at once on a project that I think shouldn't even been started. We've got the library that's not even anywhere near utilized the way it should be. There's so many empty rooms in there. And when you look at the statistics of how many people actually use the library in a month, it's pathetic. We spent that kind of money on that size building and nobody goes there. All those rooms are empty. We got the senior center.
Right, I understand that, but I just want to say something, this is something for the Board of Selectmen to have a comment on. We
Yeah,
are the
they don't
building
talk.
committee, it's our charge, it's our, I understand, but I'm just
We don't have
saying,
any
it's our
control over
charge
the process,
to
so-
keep on, the
If you're
comments
there-
need to be specific to this project, and we're trying to, and we don't.
Well, this is specific to the project
No,
because
but the
it's,
history of everything else, I'm just saying, we are the building committee, we're trying to get this, so if there's something like, and Tom was great to answer that, if there's anything specific or highlights of this project,
Yeah.
we really need to focus on that.
I just think that it can't be done properly for the 15.9 million. And to do a project just because our administration wants to get it built. And they're gonna do whatever they can with that $15.9 million. It's not fair to the citizens in town. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you for
And
coming.
thank you for giving me so much time.
We appreciate it.
And I feel for the architect and I feel for the project manager. And this is a tough one for you guys. I've seen the looks on everybody's face out of all the meetings. I joined in Zoom. You got a tough task ahead of you. That's my 15 minutes.
Hi, Dana Schmaltz, Jonathan's Landing. Maybe I missed something along the way, but I was under the impression that the community, the Academy Community Center was going to be all about like the kitchen and the theater and all of these arts, cultural arts things. And those are the things that are now maybe going to be just framed out and cut out. So then what's the rest of the building for? I mean, we have meeting spaces in the, like Andrew said, in the library, in the senior center, in this building, in the arts barn. So if we're not getting the kitchen and the theater, what are we getting for all this money? I'm a little bit confused about that.
Well, and that's
I
why
think
we're
we're
gonna
gonna-
have a public hearing
Yeah.
to present, this is what would be for the 15.9 versus this is what would be if we take some of the grant money and complete it at the 18-19 million dollar mark. So that's the conversation, but we're not gonna know that until we get the details from the construction documents. And we just, until we put out to bid, I know.
But this
And we can talk about it forever as far as supply chain, and we talked about this for a long time, why it went up. But
But that's the whole point, like, this has been going on for a long time, and nothing is coming to a head. And it's costing us on a daily basis a lot of money to
and those estimates will
perpetuate
be
this.
here
I'm
in December,
speaking,
right?
I'm speaking. To perpetuate this project, you know, now it's September 6th, and then October, and then what? It just keeps going and going and going. It's been going on for a long time. We should have been farther along than we are. And, you know, right, it should have been done, you know, so, you know, you guys have your meetings and you all understand each other. Some of us who don't get to come to the meetings, who don't understand this project, it wasn't the, you know, we weren't the brainchild for this. We're just trying to understand where our hard-earned money goes. Now, I took a night off from work tonight to come here unpaid to listen to this. You know, and now I have to make that up, so I continue to pay for something that isn't coming to fruition.
Right, well, the YouTube channel has all of our meetings. So
I watched
anytime anybody wants to see the meetings, you can do it via Zoom as well. And that was something that we were very specific on, that we needed to do because we knew there was a lot of moving parts to this project. And so that's why we did it that way. And I'm hoping that people do come more to the meetings, but we need to, our job is to get to the point of bringing this to fruition. So I can't talk about the past. We're sitting here trying to make the best of the budget and what we see as the possibility of this is what it, the bonding will never, ever go over 15.9. It's just not gonna happen. And the bonding's probably not gonna go over 12. So, or, you know.
I don't think we have any hard numbers.
We don't have any hard numbers yet. And that's where, once we have the hard numbers, then we can sit there and say, okay, this is the actual cost. And that's presented to the Board of Selectmen. But we've been working for 2 years. We've been working for
Took
2
so
years
long.
trying to get to that.
And we've been sitting here for 2 years paying however much interest a day for something that's not happening.
Actually, the bond money has not, we can talk about that, we can ask the Director of Finance, but the bonding happens as it's needed, not all in one lump sum.
So we've put out how much money so far on consultation fees and architect fees? Somebody knows that number, I know they do.
The project manager.
Project manager fees, what's the number? And
You
that's
have your
come off,
spreadsheet up?
is that coming off the top of the budget for this whole project?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
One
Yeah.
problem.
Okay, so how much money is that? That's a lot of money right there. It's happened for,
Hundreds of thousands.
Money out the door so far, including what we just approved this evening, is $685,000.
wow, that's a lot of money.
You
That's a
don't,
lot of
right?
money.
I know you're a big advocate of the theater.
Well, I just want to be really clear.
Yep.
First of all, I volunteer my time to this committee. No, just let me just say something. Because people are accusing me of being on the take for some theater companies in order to do that. That has been out there and you know it as well as I do. Okay, well, hold on, let me just say, the reason that we're doing it is it was the #1 request from the people, from the subcommittee that said, what are the things that we wanted? That's why we're.
So my question was gonna be, this is for the architect. If you're gonna have a theater, and that'd be great if you can do it, okay? But how are you gonna get the equipment upstairs with no elevator? That thing's built like a raised ranch. You have an elevator down to the floor, ground level?
That's a good question. Our team will take that into consideration.
Yeah, but
That was
it's
brought
2.5
up a
years
while
later.
ago.
Those answers should, I mean, not you, I'm not blaming you on this, but
It was brought up a couple meetings ago.
yeah, it was brought up 2 or 3
Still no
meetings ago, and nobody had answers
And
for
nobody
that,
had
you're right.
answers.
And, you know, these things, I don't know, these things should have been addressed right from the beginning and said, hey, look, this building is not feasible to do what you want to do with this building. Are there any builders on the committee?
You've got building experience, I think. Yes.
I mean builders, not building expert, not working as a drywaller or a taper or something. Is there any builders on this building committee?
Yes, we have experience with the construction industry.
To what extent? I mean, it's supposed to be talking
General
about
comment.
So, okay, we're not going
We're not-
back and
we're not
forth
gonna
on
go back.
people's experience, right? We have engineers here, we have builders, we have.
Yeah, that was my
accountants,
question.
everyone, we have a good blend on our board, that's how it's.
Yeah, and we're all
So-
so with this, so why didn't you guys and ladies address this early on? This is, and the architect's gonna agree, I mean, and so's the project manager. If not, then I've been doing it wrong all my life, is that these things should have been addressed right from the get-go. Number one, could this thing be built for 15.9? The answer is no, okay? What are the concerns with this building? Entryway, okay? The asbestos, the abatement costs.
So there was a committee prior to us that went through all of these aspects. We got draft plans actually put together by QA&M, and I think Colliers was involved, that we built upon. So all of the items, the theater, the art room, all of these things are in our design today. We didn't exclude anything. The only thing remaining is we're waiting, did our theater
No,
our
that's
consultant get back to
Thursday.
us? So Thursday, we're gonna get
Meeting.
our theater consultants come back with their recommendations. Currently, we have a plug number in our
What
estimate.
time is that meeting on Thursday?
But,
The estimate's coming back.
Oh, yeah, but you said there's a meeting on Thursday?
no.
Yeah, there is.
There's a meeting Thursday.
What time
Not-
is it?
not-
The consultant and Joe and I are meeting with it, because it's not an official meeting, it's like a design meeting, like the design meetings are only partially.
Oh,
No, I mean, then that
but there's a
information,
public meeting on
then
Thursday.
that
Mr. Chairman, um, our two members of the public have had an ample time to ask their questions. Out of respect to the fact that this committee is made up of volunteers, and out of respect to the fact that the community is looking to this community to continue to develop this project, I think it's time to move back to your agenda. I think many of the questions that have been raised by our two citizens do belong at a Board of Selectmen meeting. This committee's mission is to get this building designed and to bring the information to the public. And I would ask at this point in time that the committee be allowed to complete its agenda for today.
Al, you don't allow us to ask questions or get answers at the spot. I understand, I do respect your opinion, but we've been in the dark for 2.5 years with this project. And the only way we can get answers is if we ask questions. And I think every question I've asked was pertinent to what's going on with this project. And the people in town need to know what's going on. I just asked the architect how they're gonna get stage equipment, everything up to the theater. And they still don't know how they're gonna do it because that is impossible. Unless you spend a few more $1 million to do it.
And another question too, what happens when you get in and supposedly encapsulate the floors, the walls, and maybe you open up the ceiling and boom, there's something else?
That's remodeling.
unfortunately, Al's point, I don't think we have any more time for questions.
I do have one more statement though, and I think I'm allowed that. Joan, I
I
have
think
a
we've given
question
enough
for
time
you.
for statements.
No, I don't think so. I have something to say.
I
and
just
I
wanted
want
to say,
I think
O'Neill
maybe at the
is gonna
next
give us what we
meeting,
need to do.
This is ridiculous. We can't get anything done. None of our points or questions are ever heard. Nobody answers us from the Board of Selectmen, ever. You email, you call, you speak at the meetings, and we get no answers. We come here, now we're getting no answers. All I wanted to ask you, Joan, is you seem to be really involved with the theater aspect of it. Doesn't it bother you that that's gonna be put on the back burner?
I don't think that's.
I mean,
to-
I would
Those-
love to have
We haven't
everything,
made any
it's,
decisions.
we haven't made any decisions,
So,
and that's
we
why
need-
I'm gonna see what can be done.
So we need to move on.
But there's also, this is a community theater space. And people who are in community theater have their own equipment usually, bring in their stuff, rent stuff. I've been doing this for 40 years in community theater. There's very few theaters that you don't have to go in and at least help outfit what you want to do from a design standpoint. I do lighting design as a freebie, if you're night hand. Anybody who's watching, we need night hand volunteers this year. Anyway, so I'm passionate about it. If it goes by the wayside and we need to fundraise as a separate project with people, we'll do that. But we don't know the numbers yet. Until I know the numbers, when we get to the construction design, there's nothing to have that discussion. We're trying, but there's steps and steps and steps.
I'm sorry, I keep saying architect. I don't even know your name. I'm sorry, sir.
I'll be an architect.
You're the architect. Stay incognito. Where are you leaning with the
All right,
getting this equipment up there?
we're done with with comments.
I can stick around after the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to new business. Maybe somebody will have some information here to share. Update on the recent meetings we've had, the ACCA meeting held on August 13th. Any updates?
Tom
Actually, I
spoke to
provided those updates as
You did.
part of my report.
And if-
Yeah, we jumped ahead on some of these, so, yeah, to be honest, we already touched on the ACA meeting, actually the historical district meeting, which isn't listed here, but that was also touched on by Tom. I actually referenced the finishes review meeting that was held on the 14th, and the town departmental meeting was the meeting yesterday, so we indirectly ended up going into these prematurely, I guess, but those were all discussed previously.
So what do we have coming up in the next couple weeks?
Next couple of weeks, we have, and this leads into the next new business item, number 11 there.
We can go into that.
Do that, okay?
Number 11, milestone schedule.
Okay, we have the report from, the preliminary report from the theater review. We have, on the 6th of September, as Tom mentioned previously, the CD documents are going to be issued for the estimate pricing. Those documents are due back on the 30th of September. Meanwhile, there are some other meetings, deadlines for QA&M as far as documentation, P&Z, HDC and ACA meeting that are coming up in October. Let's see what else we have. The formal presentation, QAM will be looking at October 8th. The CD documents are to be completed by October 18th. They go to the out to bid on the 21st of October. Those bids are due back Friday, November 15th. And by the beginning of December, those numbers will be shared and submitted to the town. So those are the main highlights from the upcoming dates and events.
So our plan is to have 2 estimates again. So,
That was the plan.
yeah, so. And we need to find another estimator in the next.
Yeah, that's on.
John, this is Joe Ballantyne. I don't know if anyone else is speaking. John, could you send out meeting invitations to the appropriate subcommittees to everything between now and the next our next meeting at which would be in September?
Certainly.
And if there's any appropriate information that accompanies that, could you do that? Could you include that with the invitations?
Yeah.
Thank you.
As far as the schedule is concerned, we meet on the 24th of September. Estimates are due from QA&M and estimator and keys, right, on the 30th. Then we don't meet again until the 15th, which is only a few days away from these being presented. Are we going to get those estimates via email so that we can review, so that the 15th meeting is very focused on if there's any questions or changes, things like that?
Firstly, should we have another
Meeting, yeah, to add another meeting into the schedule. Since they're, they seem to, our timing is a bit off. Seems.
Thinking there may be a building committee meeting missing on this. It's like the second week of September.
That's what I
Monday of
thought. It's,
October.
I think the Tuesday, the 15th is actually incorrect, because usually it's the first Monday and the last Tuesday.
And the fourth,
The way our.
Second Monday, second Monday.
So it'll be the.
Oh, I know why it's the
It'll be the
15th.
14th and the 29th.
oh, it's a holiday.
The 14th
Oh,
is
Columbus Day.
Columbus Day, that's why.
That's why. it's
So the
Okay.
15th.
So that's why we've got the 15th. But do we feel, in your experience, do we want to have a meeting the week before is the question, in October? Does that make
Well, I
sense?
think we can table it to the next meeting and see where we're at with our schedule.
Okay.
I'm sure.
But it's something to think
It
about,
is something to put on.
the radar. I want to put it on the
Sure.
radar so that we can get it into this, it's going to be a special, so we've got to be very specific on our agenda then.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to item 12, discussion and possible vote on regarding the selective demo bids. So we received 3 bids through Fuss and O'Neill for the selective demo. John?
Sure, there were 3 bids received, again, through the selective demo request from Fuss and O'Neill. One bid was from Hasbro, another bid was from AVETS Demo LLC, and the third bid was from Murdoch Asbestos and Degletting. And those bids range, the Hasbro bid, removing the alternates, the bidding, or the costs from Hasbro is $69,000. The AVETS demo bid is $89,900. And the bid from Murdoch Asbestos and Degletting is $98,300. And what was shared from the meeting yesterday, town planner indicated that these costs could fall under the brownfield grant. So the costs would be able to be covered by that grant. Would not be a cost to the project budget. So that is something that I'm assuming will be pursued. There was ample funding still remaining in that grant. And that is essentially the summary. There would be a 10-day notice that has to be posted prior to the work commencing. So if a selection is made, then Fuss and O'Neill would have to have a 10-day notice posted before any of that work could commence. The assumption is the work itself would take about 4 to 5 days to complete. Again, these are isolated areas that have been determined between QAM and Fuss and O'Neill within the building to investigate existing conditions of a couple of the floor areas to determine substrate conditions there, as well as wall conditions. They are going to remove one of the sections of blackboard to see what condition is behind that, as well as some of the plaster walls to determine that condition. And then finally, some openings in the ceilings to verify some of the framing conditions that may or may not match some of the documents that we have, that QAM has, and the structural engineer is basing some of their design on. So that is essentially the summary for the selective demolition.
So I may be the only one, but there's an attachment in the email that you need for KCPTS, I guess, patient work procedure. It's an attachment. It's showing up as an attachment, but it doesn't download.
That was, I think that's just the work procedure. That was the
Okay.
document that Fuss and O'Neill had issued to the
That's a
bidders.
Fuss and O'Neill. Okay.
Yes. The Fuss and O'Neill document, which was essentially the RFP that the contractors bid on. And it also included the drawings that delineated the areas of the work scope.
Okay, great. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't down for me. There wasn't something I was missing. Part of the other thing I wanted to verify, part of what was important to us to learn was to be able to get more accurate numbers on the amount of work it was going to be to do the abatement. The tracking of those metrics is included in these. It's for understanding.
Yes.
And then also whether or not the floors will be salvageable based on the selected demo, that assessment will also come out of this report.
From this, yes, from this,
Based
from
on
these
the work
efforts,
that's done.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do either of you have any comments on any of the vendors that were selected?
I've heard of 2 of them, the Hasbro and the AVETS demo. I, to be honest, not heard of Murdoch Asbestos and Degletting, but there was as Fuss and O'Neill pointed out, a bit of a challenge trying to get the large interest just due to the timing. This window is very busy for the abatement contractors just before school, reopening. So that was a big challenge trying to get interest. But she called, I believe, 5 companies, 3 did show up. Actually, I think 4 showed up, 3 submitted pricing. So
This particular project is not a technically challenging project. It's removal of some areas. The appropriate protections, the enclosures have to be made. And then the samples have to be taken appropriately. All 3 companies have the expertise in the industry. I think they're all qualified to do the work. My recommendation would be to proceed with the lowest of the 3 qualified bidders.
And are we positive that that low bidder scope is exactly the same?
That's a good question,
I
John.
believe so. I think Kathleen from Fuss and O'Neill had vetted the proposals and has confirmed that, they are covering what is being requested on her RFP, which is that document that AJ had referenced.
Yeah, there's much less on the Hasbro bid for detail,
So one might ask a question.
but they did reply to the RFP, they did meet out on site with Bus and so they all know, so.
I mean, for what it's worth, the AVET's demo scope of work just cut and pasted what was in the RFP. So, in fact, it's a little bit more elaborate.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they looked pretty similar. So, yeah.
The only question that the lowest bidder is saying that we are agreeing to supply adequate water and electrical.
I think they all had that.
They all had the electrical. They were the only ones that saw it. So that may be an assumed utility that we provide.
Yes, because they would need to have water.
Water going to-
Yeah, so
But I want to make sure we can actually provide that.
That would have to be, I'm sure it's off right now.
Yeah.
Would have to be put on and then drained, so we need to coordinate that with facilities, right?
That's much water.
Yeah, we don't know what adequate.
Do they just want a lot of water for their people?
No.
I don't think
No,
that's the
it's-
adequate.
Just kidding.
You're gonna keep dust down, they must have their own hand wash facility.
Yeah.
They bring,
Yeah, there's
they
contamination.
they have their own trailer, they usually bring. all
Okay.
these. Okay, so you said the total for Hasbro was what?
69.
$69,000.
Yeah.
They do have alternates, but whether or not the alternate was to be pursued,
I think they were the most competitive.
they were still the low number.
Yeah, they're on the options, yeah.
Yeah. They were close to 100.
Make a motion to approve.
I will make a motion to approve the, Hasbro.
That's for us.
That's pro.
Right. Right. Hasbro estimate, I apologize, I forgot my laptop, for a total of $69,000. Why is the lead stripping out of this total? Because that brings it up to a bit closer.
The lead stripping was in there, there's an alternate one. for lead.
But there's
Lead
also a,
stripping, and there's also an alternate one.
right, so
Yeah, even with the lead stripping, it's the most competitive.
it's still the
It's
most
still-
competitive, I get that, but I'm just saying, I'm assuming that that would be part of it, not the 69 then, correct?
I'm sorry, yes, so it'd be the 69,000
Plus
plus
the
the
8250.
Yes.
It's still.
So 77,250.
Yes. It's the same number. I
Still have a brain sour to that. Okay.
You didn't.
Can we get a second? Can we get a second?
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Thanks, Joe.
No.
All right, moving on to our agenda for new business, we're back to, public comment. Any other public comment tonight that we haven't already gone over?
You guys, any more?
Got something quick.
Go ahead.
The demolition, isn't that real, it's real close to wetlands there, right? And it's a high water table. From what research I've done, I'm just worried about the fallout from some of the demolition. Maybe the water.
Selective demolition?
Yeah.
Just cutting out little.
The selective demolition is all.
Not the select, I'm talking about the actual demolition
Oh.
of the whole project. With the high water table and the wetlands so close by. A lot of times the guys, and I used them myself at times, a lot of times I want the water for to keep down the dust and on heavy demolition. And I just worry about the wetlands being affected. I mean, something you may want to look into.
Yeah, I would expect them to do it in containment, right?
Yes, yeah, as long as, I mean, tough to contain the water. That's the little tops outside. They're probably gonna power wash the building too, right?
I think we got into that level of detail.
Yeah, I think they're gonna repoint the bricks too, because they're, I did a quick walk around and all the mortar. And the thing is that mortar, have asbestos in it. That's something probably you want to check out.
We have an environmental consultant, Professor O'Neill, that's assisting our project, so.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I mean,
And if, yeah, we can bring it up.
yeah, have them check on that. I've done some big projects. I worked on Trump Tower, a bunch of other stuff back in the day. And those are always concerns, especially now with the environment. And in this town here, the environment's a big thing in this town. It should be.
Thank you.
Agreed. All right, I think that's the end of our agenda. Nothing else said, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.